What's up, guys, and welcome back to Captain Mike's Rigging Station, another one of our awesome seminars. Today's topic, kite fishing must-haves, okay? What are we talking about here? Look, kite fishing. Man, I'll tell you what, if you fish here in South Florida and if you're not kite fishing, you're missing the boat. You really are. I learned that lesson myself when I moved down here nearly 30 years ago. I watched these guys literally nearly 3 decades ago out there kite fishing, and I was very hesitant. From the Northeast, we didn't kite fish up there, you know? Kite fishing, what is that? And came down here and watched it all, learned it all, and quickly realized how incredibly effective kite fishing really is. And then I went on a journey. I went on a journey to, you know, at first being a little intimidated, other people kite fishing on the boat and, you know, me running the boat, doing some other duties, all the way to the point where I'm now running offshore, flying 2 kites by myself, 3 baits off each kite, you know, just for saying that I was able to do it. So, I mean, I've come such a long way kite fishing, but I feel like there's still so much out there to share. There's some guys out there that are just such incredible kite fishermen. All of these tournament sail fishermen, they live and die by the kite. Guys don't win sailfish tournaments, not kite fishing, at least not here in South Florida and the Keys. Certainly in other areas, you know, trolling dead baits and dredges is incredibly effective. But when it comes to that wintertime sailfish bite, you've got to be a dialed in kite fisherman. Okay, and it's not only for sailfish. Kite fishing is incredibly effective for a wide variety of pelagic predators. Cobia, king mackerel, wahoo, dolphin, blackfin tuna, the list goes on and on. And then, of course, there's the oddities. Mutton snapper on kite baits, groupers on kite baits, every jack that swims in the water. And then, of course, the big surprises, yellowfin tuna, giant bluefin tunas blowing up on kite baits. Can you imagine? How sick of a bite would that be? Nevertheless, you know, here, it's a must-do technique. It's a must-have in your arsenal to be an effective fisherman down here. But it's also incredibly frustrating. If you're not really dialed into kite fishing, it could be one of the biggest mistakes that you make because you're never gonna wanna fish again, okay? It could really be frustrating. So what I wanna do is just share some history of kite fishing, where it's been, where it is, who knows where it's going. With the way that technology is advancing, you know, one day you're just gonna push a button and multiple kites are gonna deploy and all of the baits are gonna go out and you're just gonna monitor it on your Furuno multifunction display and boop. And when you get one on, fight them, reel them in. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets to that point. For now, it requires a lot of input from the anglers. And that's often why you see teams of guys, you know, these guys that are winning these tournaments, that are competing in these tournaments. Doesn't even matter if they're winning, because you know what, the winners are the winners, great, but that doesn't mean everyone else that's out there, the other 110 boats or, you know, the entire fleet are not good qualified fishermen. It just wasn't their day maybe to catch the biggest or the most, but they're amazing kite fishermen. So there's so many guys out there, so many people doing this, but so many people still intimidated by it. I'm not sure if I want to go out and kite fish, you know, what if I can't do it right? Well, I'm here to share with you a few different facts. One of them being that you can do it, I promise you. You can do it, okay? Any size boat, just about, you can get out. There's guys in, look, flat skiffs. I've kite fished off a little 19-foot skiff, okay? I mean, you can do it. You could kite fish off a paddleboard, all right? Guys were kite fishing from inner tubes. You remember that from years ago? They would set up these inner tubes, kite fish off Miami for sailfish off an inner tube with crazy stuff, but a lot of fun nonetheless. Look, why is it so effective, right? What's the big advantage of kite fishing? Well, remember, you can now present baits on the downwind side of the boat. So if you're setting up in a drift type pattern where the boat is drifting across a really productive area of water, now not only can I fish baits on the downwind side, okay, on the flat side of the boat, but now on the upwind side, I can fly 2 kites. I could fly 3 kites, you know, depends on 1 kite, depends on who you have on the boat, the tackle, the gear, but I could kite fish. That's the point that I'm making. And now I can present baits all around the boat. That's huge, right? Huge, because I'm literally covering a huge swath of water that I couldn't otherwise effectively fish without the kites. Because again, the kites are pulling the baits way away from the boat, okay? And right there, they're downwind right there. And that means as the boat's drifting this way, my kite baits are drifting right along with the boat, okay? If you set baits on the upwind side, obviously the boat's gonna drift downwind, down current, and your baits are gonna be presented up on the surface or suspended in the water column, okay, depending on the type of spread that you're fishing, flat lines, couple baits midway down, couple baits on or near the bottom to pick off that mutton or African pompano, cover that water column. But again, now on the downwind side, I can put those kites up and I could put additional baits dangling off those kites. And now I have the ability to present baits all around my boat, my Mercury-powered Sea Hunter, okay? And just have an incredibly effective spread. But it doesn't only apply when you're drift fishing, because that's when we're pretty much targeting a variety of species. Dolphin, cobia, blackfin, sailfish, kingfish, basically whatever is gonna wanna come up and crush a kite bait. Right? So we're kite fishing, but we're not specifically targeting one species. Whereas during sailfish tournaments, these sport fishing boats, they are kite fishing. They're presenting baits directly up on the surface. They're maintaining their position right in or on an edge in a certain depth of water. They're controlling, maintaining their position. Okay, using outriggers to get an even wider spread, perhaps big taco outriggers, hopefully, okay, and really be able to effectively pursue and focus on that one species in a small corridor, in a small window. During the wintertime, sometimes those sailfish are coming down the beach in pods, but only in a certain depth, okay, or maybe on a certain edge. These guys are amazing up in the towers. They could read that water. They could read the fish as fish are approaching the kite baits. It's all visual. Just an incredible scenario. So very effective, very, for recreational to professional fishermen for a wide variety of species. So hopefully now you're starting to catch on to why you need to be kite fishing, okay, really. It is that effective. But like I said, learn from me. That's what this is about. I don't want you to make bad purchasing decisions, and I want you to understand what you need to have on the boat. But understand that there are a few details, a few must-haves, and there's a lot of them. It's impossible to cover them all. But I'm gonna share 3 or 4 must-haves and explain to you how they're gonna make your life easier, more effective, your fishing more efficient and more effective by truly understanding these different components and how to utilize them in your kite fishing spread, okay? I also want to say there's absolutely no substitute for experience. No matter how many videos you watch on kite fishing, articles you read, seminars you watch, whatever it may be, there is no substitute. You've got to get out there and do this, okay? You got to get out there and do this, all right? That's where you're going to learn. That's where you're going to see all of the things that happen when you're kite fishing, things that you would never expect. Boom, right in front of you. A kite just starts spinning in circles for no reason. The cartwheel of death, you're doing everything to try and, you know, get that kite to get it under control, you know, at the very least, because you've got 3 lines going up to the kite, and boy, I'll tell you what, you're looking at a huge disaster about to happen if that kite plummets into the water. So there's hectic situations like that, and then there's, you know, complete opposite where it's sexy, where everything is perfect. Your kites are up, you've got a perfect spread, your 3 baits are dangling, you know, just, you don't even have to touch the reels, okay? You know what I mean? If you know, you know. You don't even have to touch the reels. You're just sitting back waiting for that big blow up. Everything is just perfect, you know? So there's everything in the middle of all of that. So very, very emotional, very rewarding. Just to kite fish, I say, look, don't even put a hook in a bait And it's still an incredible achievement to go out there, get that kite up, fly it, manage it, dangle a bait or two or three. Just to do that is a great achievement and takes a lot of patience, time, effort, experience, and a commitment to succeed on the water, you know, just to get to that point. But again, you can do it, okay? So look, let's get right into this here, right? Kites. Obvious, in order to kite fish, you need a kite, but not just one kite, all right? This is a must-have here. You've got to go out there, you must go kite fishing with multiple kites, because if this kite, and look, there's a whole, I don't know, 24 kites right here that I carry with me. Different brands, different sizes for different wind conditions. Some I fish more often than others. I've done reviews on some of the kites, you know, low wind kites, high wind kites, all kinds of kites. But at the end of the day, it all boils down to your typical fishing kite. The SFE is the standard across the industry for good reason. This isn't about blowing up that brand. I'm simply saying if you're gonna get a kite and you're only gonna get one, this would probably be the right one to get. But don't only get one because you're gonna need more, I'm telling you. You know, and let me explain why. If this gets wet, it will not fly properly. It's very, very challenging to get a kite to fly properly once it's wet with salt water, okay? Really challenging. And if you're just getting into kite fishing, you're gonna get it wet. Listen to me, it's gonna get wet, okay? And I don't mean from the rain. You're gonna dunk the kite, you're not gonna be able to get it to fly right. A lot of different things are gonna happen, and this kite's gonna go in the water. And if it's the only kite you have, you're gonna pull it back up into the boat. That is, if you don't break any of the spars in doing so. You're gonna get it back up into the boat. All of this fabric is gonna be covered in salt water, wet, and the kite will not fly until it dries out. Okay, so you're gonna be out of commission. That's when you grab another kite. All right, so multiple kites is gonna make your kite fishing experience very easy. I would not get into the technical aspect right out of the gate. Don't worry about a high wind kite. What do I mean by high wind? Look, much smaller surface area, doesn't need to catch as much wind. There are holes strategically placed in the fabric to allow some of that breeze to get through here so you can maintain a nice stable flying orientation. You can clearly see the size difference. Let's just kind of show you by comparison. Here we have a high wind kite, you know, want to make sure you could see all of that, a high wind kite right there, okay? And then here we have your standard, okay? That's applicable for, you know, a lot of the conditions. And look at the difference in the surface area. We'll kind of bring this down to the corner right there. You could see there's obviously more surface to the red kite, right? To the SFE. It's going to catch more wind. Right, and it's going to be applicable for a wider range of scenarios. So your first two kites should be two of these, okay? That's what it should be. It should be two kites that are versatile for a wide variety of conditions. That's gonna be a better move than one of these and a high wind kite or something like that, at least for starters. Down the line, as your arsenal grows, your passion for kite fishing grows, your success grows, then ultimately you can continue, you know, to build on your kite fishing or your kites and your arsenal. That's one reason to have multiple kites. Another reason is sometimes they just don't behave. They just don't fly right. No matter what you do, you just are in a situation where you just can't get that kite to fly properly on that given day. Look, it happens. You know, kites have a lot of little adjustment points that we mess with. The spars need to be in the right position. They need to be the correct spars for the right kite. There are little adjustments on bridles and flying behavior, on the angle that the kite flies. You can use split shots to stabilize it. Look, I'm aware of all of this, okay? So I'm not suggesting that when you can't get the kite to fly, you hadn't already tried and went through the entire process. You did. You knew it all. You tried everything and still doesn't want to fly. Doesn't want to fly. Yesterday, that thing was flying like a perfect, all right, perfect. Today, I don't know. I don't know what happened overnight. It's like a woman, okay? They get these crazy attitudes sometimes. But tomorrow, she'll be back ready to fly high with a big fat smile. All right, so just keep that in mind, that it's always good to have spares. So that's a really, really important thing to remember, okay? And by the way, look, here's an interesting point for you. Did you know where kite fishing got its origins? Okay, Polynesia, guys in dugout canoes. They would make fishing kites out of banana leaves. And then they would go off, you know, the coast there, fly this banana leaf and dangle a spider web. They used to make a fishing lure from this silk from a particular spider, okay? It was only one particular type of silk where they could do this. And they would fashion this fishing lure and they would dangle it from this banana leaf off their dugout canoes. Big needlefish that had a whole bunch of little teeth would come along and snap at these things thinking it was a wounded little bait fish on the surface, and it gets all tangled in their mouth and their teeth. There's not even a hook, okay? And that's where kite fishing got its origins. Today, it has advanced to a level that no one could have probably ever seen coming. Not only in kite technology, which truthfully, kite technology has not changed much in many, many years. If you bought this kite today, or a similar kite, and then you bought one from 10 years ago, it would be hard to tell the difference. If there wasn't even a difference, if there was a difference, it would be hard to tell what that was. Some of these kites are more than 10 years old. But again, if you replace this today, it would be the exact same kite. What does that tell you? Either A, they did it right the first time. That's it, they did it right the first time. Or what else could you do to make it fly better? You know, why has the kite design not advanced any more than it has? I can't answer that other than it hasn't. So the product itself, the product is amazing, the concept is amazing. What is really advanced is the anglers and how they've learned to use the kite and how they manipulate the kite and how they can deploy that kite faster, more efficiently, more effectively, using a variety of, you know, high-end tackle. We now use power assist reels for our kite reel, where you program auto stop, you know, features where you push a button, it brings the kite back and the kite stops. That is absolutely vital. That's a must-have. I don't have it here, but I'm gonna tell you right now. An electric kite reel, a power assist kite reel, Daiwa Tanacom, the standard across the industry, Beastmaster, a small hooker electric, a crystal, I don't care what it is, okay? Will change your life while you're kite fishing. Will change your life, I promise you. It's like another person, okay? It makes you such a better kite fisherman being able to control that kite with the push of a button, okay? It's that important. So that's another must-have to go along with multiple kites. There we go. That's two so far that are gonna change the game for you, for sure. High-vis line, high-vis line, okay? Look, chartreuse, bright orange, two different options, both of them bright, okay? Bright, high-vis. This is not a clear, this is a high-vis line right here, okay? The idea is to be able to see it, hence high-vis. It reflects off the sun, it's very, very bright, and that is very important when you are kite fishing and you're looking off the side of the boat. There's my two kites and my three baits are dangling from clips, release clips, down into the water. To see my line going up to that clip and down into the water. Going up to the clip is nowhere near as important as down into the water. To be able to track my baits, to manage my baits, to have situational awareness, understand that's everything that's happening around me. I need to understand what's happening around me to manage it, and that is an absolutely vital tool in making that happen. The high-vis line, really, really important, okay? That all your reels, all your kite reels be filled with either diamond, high catch, and like I said, the chartreuse, high-vis, you call it whatever you'd like to call it, the same in an orange crush. All right, that's what they call that. I like both. Look, you could even take it another step further, and this is one thing we've done in the past. I'm gonna throw a little flashback here, okay? A little flashback to many years ago. One of my co-hosts for many years, Carlos, you guys remember Carlos. Well, when we kite fish together, we always fish two kites. He'd be up in the bow, I would be in the stern. So we always had, you know, we all fished the same rods, the same Chaos KC15 to 30s, the 7-foot live bait rods, same reels at the time, everything was identical. So to set his set of outfits apart from mine, we would fill one set with the Orange Crush and one set with the Chartreuse. So now we knew whose rods were rigged what way. Everybody has their own little nuances. We could track them very easily. So there's a lot of benefits. You know, another thing you could do is put your short, your mid a different color. So if you're fishing 2 lines or even 3, you could stagger the colors. Once again, just makes it easier. You know, I'm telling you this, you need to understand. Low light conditions, bright light conditions, a variety of different scenarios where you're looking off the side. Where the hell are my baits? Where's my baits? Oh, there's one, there's 2, you know. And if you're an old guy like me who doesn't see all that great anymore, sometimes it's hard to spot those lines and certainly to distinguish, wait, is that my short or is that the mid? Which one's getting bit, grab, you know, a lot going on there. And the color, being able to distinguish the you know, short, medium, long is a huge benefit, huge benefit. So learn to use the different color lines to your advantage when you're kite fishing versus if everything was clear or blue. Just think about that, huge. But we always have a clear top shot. Remember that. We're never taking that high vis line and tying it directly to a hook. It always goes to a fluorocarbon, or at the very least, a clear, you know, the super clear top shot between that and the final terminal rig. Okay. Another big one here, floats, okay? Kite fishing floats. Look, understand, I'm gonna show you the standard, okay? Here's the standard right here. When you fish, typically, 3 baits, you'll have 3 floats. There'll be little torpedo-shaped floats, okay? And usually they're all in the same color. That's kind of the standard across the board. This is the way everybody's been doing it for a long, long time. That float, either in a bright orange or potentially in a pink. That's the standard. Doesn't catch a lot of wind. It's very streamlined. That's what's most important about that. Doesn't catch a lot of wind. If that was a big float and if it caught a lot of wind, it would blow your bait out of the water, especially if it was a very light, fragile bait like a pilchard or something like that, or a threadfin or a small sardine. You know, it could potentially blow it out of the water just from the wind on that kite. So that's about as streamlined as you can go while still being able to see that way out there in the distance. 3 of these, one there, one there, one there, my short, my mid, my long, okay? 3 of those. But again, that's been the standard. There are some other shapes, you know, once again, here are some other shapes. Here's one that's oval, egg-shaped. Would catch a little bit more wind, right, than the other one. Keep that in mind when selecting your floats, all right? The shape is gonna play a big role. Here's one, I kind of like that shape, all right? Little tapered on the bottom, cup end on top. That seems to, you know, be pretty popular. Here's the same shape. The difference here is it's weighted. There's a lead weight inside this float inserted. This is heavy. This weighs nothing, 0. I don't even feel that in my hand. It just doesn't weigh anything. That, I don't know, I'm gonna say at least an ounce probably in there. Why? In very windy conditions, okay, we want the extra weight to hold that line vertical. We want that presentation to be vertical. So often we need some weight to keep that line in the water so the wind doesn't blow it out in those types of blustery conditions, okay? A lot of guys will use their typical float and then just put an egg sinker right below it, right? We all have seen, and we do that regularly, regular typical float, the egg sinker right below it. You obviously Don't want to use a big float like that on a windy day. That's going to do you more harm than good. Same with that. The wind is going to catch that. That's a big float. There's a lot of surface area for the wind to catch that. So windier it is, more streamlined you need to be. That's number one. You're going to need to add lead, but once again, there are float options that come equipped with the lead already embedded in there. All right, but point is a variety of floats. That's the key. And once again, not just one or one set. And once again, let me just stress how you can use color, again, to help you. Color is your friend, the different colors, right? Short, mid, long. Short, mid, long. So once again, if I'm using the same color monofilament, I could easily look out and see my kite baits and go, there's my short, there's my mid, there's my long. I can distinguish each bait based on color, okay? So it's just a tool. You know, if you're really, really dialed in, you can fish these across the board or no floats. I love to kite fish with no floats. Don't think you need a float. As long as your bait's in the water, why do you need a float? I know where my bait is. And on days when there's no wind, very little wind, summertime, variable winds, get rid of your floats altogether. It's gonna be easier for you to fly that kite. There's gonna be less weight, less drag pulling that kite down. So on those types of days, reduce the floats altogether, okay? And fish, I don't use the word naked, but fish with no floats. That's the bottom line. Just keep an eye on your baits. Remember that your kite baits, your live kite baits, don't need to be right on the surface flipping like crazy. All right, you're gonna kill them. Let them swim. Let them swim a couple of feet just below the surface, 10 feet below the surface. They're gonna get spotted. They're gonna get crushed. You're gonna know it. They're gonna come to the surface before there's a giant blow up. So a lot to be said about floats, various floats, and how you can use those floats. So look, here it is. These are just a lot of, what appears to be a lot of color there, but how to use that color to your advantage, which for the guys that are really dialed in, that have been kite fishing, look, you don't need to do this. I get it. You get it. I get it. We get it. We know, we get it. We've done it. But not everybody has, right? And you remember the day when you started. I remember the day when I started. Every little tool that I could use to help me get dialed in, shorten that learning curve and made me a better, more effective angler quicker. Use the tools that are out there. That's why they're out there, okay? Keep that in mind. Next, let's talk about this. This is perhaps one of the most important, certainly one of the most important, okay, must-haves when kite fishing that I could share with anybody. And that is a helium tank. A helium tank, okay? Because I am telling you, there's so many days where inflating a balloon, a kite balloon, affixing it to the kite, and allowing that to assist the kite in getting up in the air and flying stable, man, what a game changer. There is perhaps, that's like the electric kite reel being that important as a third person. That's what the balloon is. It's a game changer, no question. And when it's borderline, and I know that if I wanted, I can put in the time, the effort, and I can get the kite to fly with no balloon. No, I'm putting a balloon on. Short of it blowing 20 straight, I'm putting a balloon on. All right, because I know once I attach my balloon, it's smooth sailing. The kite's gonna go perfectly up every time. It's gonna stay up. It's gonna fly perfect, all right? And I can adjust the orientation of the kite based on which spar I tie the balloon to. So you don't even need any sort of bridle system. We used to do it that way. You don't even need to tie fishing line across the balloon. We used to do it that way. Now, it's as simple as inflating the balloon and tying it right to the top third of the spar. That's it. That now is gonna take your kite up, and depending on which spar you tie it to, that obviously will direct the kite in either direction. So it makes it far easier to fish multiple kites in addition to just helping get that kite up in the air. And if you're just getting started kite fishing, there is no better piece of advice that I could give you than get a helium tank. You can get disposable, portable, non-refillable helium tanks at Party City, where they sell them to fill party balloons. They're little pink containers, and they'll fill 2, or depending on the size, maybe 3 kite fishing balloons. But once you're done with them, they're garbage, you know, it's useless. You could go extensive and get something like this, you know, which, so scuba tank, oxygen tank, you know, whatever that may be. It's got a big gauge right up at the top right there, so I know when it's filled or how much helium I have left. It's got a long coiled hose, so this is below deck secured. You don't want that bouncing around, right? So this is below deck secured, and at any time, all I gotta do is grab that hose, open the valve, and I have helium on the go, okay? It is vital. It's huge, huge. I mean, I honestly can't tell you how beneficial that is. Where do you fill the helium? At welding shops. Okay, welding shops will typically fill your helium tank. Be prepared to pay. It's not cheap, especially nowadays. I don't know what the scoop is with helium, but it's very expensive. And the whole system is, look, let's be honest. Kite, I don't know, what do they charge for these nowadays? I'm gonna say it's gotta be around 200 bucks. Okay, then you've got a balloon, which is filled in $20 to $25 of helium. Before it's all said, you know, you're at 250 bucks just to get that kite up in the air. You've got a power assist kite fishing rod. You've got 2 or 3 outfits. Like, the whole system is very extensive and very expensive. So do it right. All right, there's a lot of moving parts there, and pay attention to each and every detail, because it's gonna make a difference for you. Okay, it really is. But like I said earlier, there's absolutely no substitute for time on the water. Okay, I'm gonna tell you that right now. Get out there, try it, get the kite up, you know, give it everything that you got. Learn from somebody who's already done it, you know, who has experience, and they're willing to share that information, that knowledge, that help with you. You know, maybe charter a boat if you have to. Fishingbooker.com, it's a great way to charter a boat and look for boats, captains, that specialize in kite fishing, and tell them right out of the gate, hey, I want you to teach me, you know, I want to learn. And I don't know, some guys may or may not. We do, of course, instructional fishing courses. I feel that is key to our sport, is continuing to advance and share information and work closely with anglers. How are we all gonna get better? How's the industry gonna continue to evolve if everybody's so damn tight-lipped about everything? It's not your ocean, it's everybody's ocean. Nobody's gonna run to your spot and catch all your fish. You're not that lucky, dude. I don't care who you are. All right, just chill out. Let's learn. Let's all move forward together. Okay, so just be clear with whoever it is that you're fishing with that, you know, you want to advance your tactics and learn. That's the best thing that I could say, is put in the time. The cool thing, the really cool thing about kite fishing is the bite, is putting in all of that effort, and the bite is explosive, right? You're looking off to the side, and sometimes you know it's coming because your bait just starts freaking out up on the surface. And other times it's just a boil or an explosion or a fish skying out of the water. 50-pound wahoo, you know, flying 10 feet in the air with your goggle eye in its mouth, or was in its mouth. Half is going that way, half is going that way. So many cool things can happen. You know, watching a sailfish with its bill, its sail, okay, using its bill to swipe at prey. He's got his sail up to corral the bait. He's swimming around it. So many cool things, you know, happen when you're kite fishing that can't happen any other way. Okay, they just don't happen any other way. So in South Florida, must-do tactic, must-have items that are gonna make your kite fishing easier and more effective. Get out there, do it. Make sure to catch up on all of our other seminars. I want you to watch the entire series, okay? Because at the end of the day, we're committed to making you a more successful angler, but you gotta go out and do it yourself. I'll see you on the water.